If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt, and to change is to grow. That's what this guy said, your host, Gary C. Johnson.
To have changed often is to have grown much. That's the other part of it. Hi, folks. How you doing? Hey, you like your new set? But we do need to, before we get started, we need to do one thing. We need to take just a moment of silence for the table that was with us for 20 years.
My friend, you know, when we talked about this new set, your wife Anita said, but what about the table? What are we going to do with the old table that you guys have had for all these years? And she was even so concerned she thought about bringing it to the office to keep.
Well, that table, you know, it served us well. It hit our stomachs.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful table, right, folks? How you been doing this week? I trust there was no fighting, no criticizing, condemning, or complaining. Oh, I do want to remind my friends of one thing, because it came up last week, and it might have been me that did it, but I'm not sure. At least I'm not going to admit to it. Unsolicited advice is nothing more than camouflaged criticism. And I believe it or not, old dummy here caught himself doing it this week. So I wanted to remind my good friends that when you decide you're going to give somebody some advice that they didn't ask for, or you're going to tell them they shouldn't have bought a different car or whatever, you would have done this, you would have done this, keep your mouth shut, because it is nothing more than camouflaging the criticism that you're trying to say to that person, okay?
You know, my friend, when you brought this up some time ago, I thought about it. Anyone that's ever bought a vehicle or built a house, have you ever heard these words? You know what I would have done had it been me? And during the process of building a house, I had several people say, you know what I would have done? You know what you should have done? And finally I come up with a good answer. Yeah, I should have put up a gate at the bottom of the hill. So you couldn't come up here.
And criticize me. So just remember, folks, those of you that are getting ready to give some advice that's not been solicited or asked for, you're getting ready to criticize someone. Don't do it. It is a no, 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 no. I mean, no criticizing, condemning, or complaining. Number one, people get mad at you when you criticize. When you condemn something, they just want to get away from you as fast as they can when you start that. So don't do it.
Gary, go a little bit farther. Even if someone comes up to you and says, I've made this decision, but what do you think? Are they really asking for advice from you at that point, or are they asking you to confirm their decision was a good decision?
The smart people will look at that person and say, I'm sure you've thought it through, that you've given it all the different angles, and I suspect that there's nothing I could add to it. Trust your instincts. Go with your decision. It's the one you made. If I was in your shoes, I probably would have made the same decision. And guess what? They will love you for it. But if you turn around and say, oh, no, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, you have insulted them, you've criticized them, and you've belittled them. Don't do it.
Isn't it amazing, my friend, that you point this out, and here we all have problems and issues in our own lives that maybe we can't fix, but yet we'll go to the extra length to try to fix everyone else's problems and tell them what they should be doing when we've got those problems ourselves.
You know, I've noticed that I don't have a bit of trouble seeing Keith Swamp what he needs to fix. It's so easy.
It is. No wonder. I've got so many of them.
Folks, we're going to go off right now. and I'm going to have a couple of my team members come on. You know, we're always talking in this legal profession how important it is to have teams. No one can do everything themselves, and how you really need extraordinary talented people around you if you're going to try to look good, right? So what I've done over 20 years ago, and the two that I'm bringing forward to you, I found some what I consider extraordinary talented young lawyers. They're not all that young now, but they're close. Compared to me, they are, okay? And they've been team members. They've worked with me on many cases. We've had a lot of really good results over the years representing our clients. And I want to bring them on camera and let you meet them, have Keith introduce them to you, and let you at least get a glimmer of the talent that we have in our office. So let's go off now, and we'll come right back with one of our team members.
We're going to take a break, so stay with us. New set and the team members, all of that coming up on Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson when we return.
The other day, one of my friends called me and said, Gary, I was in a bad wreck, and you didn't call me. And I had to explain. No lawyer, even me, can call a person that's been in a wreck and ask them for their case. It is illegal. I want to represent you, but I'm not the one that can make that first call. It must be you. It's easy. Call pound hurt. I'm here. I want to represent you.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. No Gary Johnson, but Angie Owens. So good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me, Keith.
Now, listen, I want to introduce you to everyone. I first met Angie when I got a job as a radio disc jockey in Elkhorn City, and you were just a little girl coming over to the radio station.
Absolutely. What wonderful memories it was. Being from Elkhorn City, it's a wonderful place to be, and it's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, so here those years ago, I'm a radio disc jockey. You're the little girl coming over to the radio station. You live there in Elkhorn City. And then all of a sudden, I see you years later, and you're Angie Owens, the attorney. Tell me about when you decided to get into the profession of law.
You know, when I grew up and had, I always wanted to do something with my life to help people. And the best thing I thought of was becoming a lawyer. And so I decided to go to law school and then came back home. And I have been with Gary Johnson for 21 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about this guy named Gary Johnson, because every time he's on this program, he talks about my team. Every time he talks about something that's done in the office or an individual client that's been helped, he always says, thanks to my team and the hard work. So you've been a team member for 21 years?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about working with Gary and being a part of that team.
You know, people don't understand what it's like to be a part of a team until you have somebody like Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson has been the best mentor that anyone could ever ask for in this entire world. Being a part of the Gary C. Johnson team is the most amazing experience. When people get hurt, people need our help. You know, it's truly a team approach. We have lawyers that sit down and bounce ideas off of each other, and Gary, day or night, weekend, is always available for any of us, Kate, any of us as part of his team to talk to and work with.
You know, Angie, I've been doing a radio show with Gary and television for 20 years. So I've been a part of the Gary C. Johnson team for 20 years. The one thing that sticks out to me about Gary, I've come to him in times in my life when I've had problems or issues, and I've been worried and I've been upset, and I come in with all this anxiety, and as soon as I talk to him, he is the most calm, laid-back guy. He puts everything into perspective, and he's like, hold on, it's going to be okay. And the calming effect that he has, I can only imagine how that works with someone who's come in and their life has been turned upside down because of a horrible injury.
Absolutely. And because of our team approach, Gary has worked with every single one of us. And hopefully we can just glimmer an ounce of what his ability is. And to sit down, we have team meetings. Gary is just an amazing man. And any client, I hope, that you would talk about what a satisfaction that they get from feeling like they're family. You're not a client at Gary C. Johnson. You're a family member at Gary Johnson. And that is probably one of the most important aspects of our firm. And I think that really makes us stand out, Keith. And that's different. We're different from everybody else.
I get that because when I talk to you, I feel the confidence. I mean, even when I'm speaking to you, whether it's casual or we're on this program, it's that you have the confidence that it's going to be all right. We know what we're doing. We're going to get through this together.
Exactly. And because of the fact that we've been together so long and our team has been together so long, we know how to handle almost any situation. Over the last 21 years, Keith, I guarantee you there is not a problem, there's not an injury that I've not seen. And Gary Johnson has stood by all of our sides and helped us work through to make sure that we take care of our family, our team family, and our client family.
So you kind of got the feeling, Angie, been there, done that. Hey, we're ready for this.
Absolutely. And I hopefully have learned that each person who's injured, regardless of how they were injured, when they come to us, that's why they call it personal injury, is because it's personal to the person that's injured. And Gary understands that. And Gary has taught all of us to understand that when you're injured, when a person is injured, they don't want to come to you and whine or complain. So it's our job to sit down with them and hopefully make them feel better and make them feel comfortable about explaining to us what's going on so that we can help them.
One last thing, when you talked about the personal injury, I also know this about you, that you take this area personally also. You've worked for Gary and Hazard, Lexington, all over the state of Kentucky. But when it comes to Eastern Kentucky, we opened up talking about Elkhorn City, and I saw your eyes light up. You have a special affection for Eastern Kentucky and the people of this region.
There is absolutely no doubt. And in fact, I have come home full time, even though I've been with Gary for numerous years. This is home to me. And Gary has been so welcoming for me to come back home so that I can be with the people that I love most. And that, of course, is my folks from Eastern Kentucky.
Angie, you still look like the little girl from Elkhorn City when I saw you in '82. Unfortunately, the old DJ didn't weather so good. Hey, stay with us. More of Gary C. Johnson, Simply the Law, is coming up right after this break.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. I saw a commercial from a large law firm where they said, we took 3 million calls last year. Woo-wee. You may want to give us a call at Pound Hurt, where instead of being one of 3 million, you will be treated as one of a kind. Pound Hurt. We're ready to represent you. Give us a call on your cell phone, Pound Hurt.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back into Simply the Law. We got to meet Angie Owens. I want you to say hello to our friend Dustin Williams. Now, Dustin came over to the table and he said, what am I going to talk about? Angie said everything.
That's what I was thinking, Keith.
No, plenty to talk about. How long have you been with the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm?
I've been there 17, going on 18 years. But before starting with Gary, I was actually a federal staff attorney in Ashland for 2 years.
Wow. And originally, where are you from, Dustin?
Born and raised in Harlan. So, local boy.
Listen, Neil Middleton, station manager from Harlan, the one and only Tony Turner, bless him, from Harlan, Kaywood Ledford from Harlan. We can keep going and going. What a beautiful place to grow up.
It was. And you know, that's part of what kind of Angie talked about Elkhorn inspiring, or Harlan inspired me. Having been born and raised over there, you know, growing up, you get to see kind of the way miners and other people suffered. Especially, you have to remember, Harlan was the center of the unionization effort back in the 70s and 80s. So there was always so much legal stuff going on, and you got to see when the lawyers for the UMWA or lawyers from for the miners would come forward, just what they did. And that kind of is what pushed me into becoming a lawyer, believe it or not.
You know, I got to tell you, I've watched the documentary on Harlan, and hats off to the men and women in Harlan County. There are no harder working people or better people. And if you ever watch the documentary and you see what these people had to go through to earn a living, you have a whole new respect for them.
That's exactly right. Point of fact, when I was in college, I went back and interviewed one of the unionization leaders, Lois Scott. She's passed now. But, you know, listening to her talk about what she went through to help her husband, it was just an amazing, amazing experience that I appreciated.
So your motivation was, listen, I'm from here. I love the people of this region. I want to be able to defend them. I want to be able to help them.
That's exactly right. And, you know, now that I've gotten to be with Gary going on 17, going on 18 years now, believe it or not, I've had the chance to work a lot on commercial litigation and those type of things. And a lot of people say, well, how is that related to the practice of law? You know, in these big truck wrecks and other things, there are government regulations to protect the population out there. And it's knowing those regulations that let you actually pursue those claims and push it. And I've been very fortunate in that Gary has been over backwards to let me have the training, experience, the resources to do that type of work.
You know, I can tell you when I listen to Gary talk about you as part of the team, he always points out some people go to work, some people do jobs, and then some people are the job. You are an attorney. That's who you are. This is not work for you. Gary has said time and time again, you can't overload him. Give him the work because he thrives on this. This is what you do.
Exactly. And I will tell you, that's the funny thing. My daughter's going to be 16, believe it or not, Keith. And she came up to me one day and she goes, Dad, I'm not a client. I'm not a defendant. This is not a deposition. So she's told me, she said, you've got to be able to shut it off every now and then.
But it's hard to do when it becomes a part of you, isn't it?
It is, because you enjoy that so much. You can't shut off the way your mind works. There's so much that goes through my mind, even on vacation. And I will tell you that's something that Gary does. I've had Gary call me at Saturday at 7 p.m. He said, have you thought about looking at X, Y, or Z? And you know, to other people, that may not seem like a great work environment, but to me, it's awesome because you've got somebody else who's that dedicated, that thoughtful, who's putting that much time and effort into figuring out what to do in the case.
You know, Gary and I were actually one day in the office and he was just talking and he said, you know, I don't golf, I don't fish. I don't have those hobbies. What I do is I help injured people get money. And I started to realize why he's on 7 days a week is because when the person comes to you that's injured, they don't get a break. They're thinking about it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Gary's feeling, and obviously yours too, is if they have to think about it 7 days a week, 24 hours, I need to in order to help them.
Exactly. You feel like you owe those people that duty. That's what Gary's taught me, because they don't ever get a break, and also their lives are changed. A lot of people don't realize how significant it is for someone to be involved in a wreck, because they don't think, I think the statistics are something like 60% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck. So if you're off a week of work, that changes your life. They may not realize that, and insurance companies never realize that, but it really does make a difference. That's the difference in their kids having school clothes, the bills being paid, their car payment being made on time. I mean, those are big deals.
And no one talks about the anguish that does to the client. They're sitting there thinking, how am I going to make the house payment? What's going to happen to me? And as Angie talked before in the break, before you come on, you have the confidence to say, we know what we're doing. We've been there. We've done that. We're going to get through this together.
Exactly. As she said, there's very few things I've not had the fortunate ability to address, deal with, or work on while I've been with Gary, whether it be products work, whether it be commercial litigation, whether it be big truck wrecks. I've had the fortunate ability to work on all of it and have the resources to work on all of it, because he never says, what does it cost? He's like, well, what is the outcome for the client if we do this? And that's important.
You know, and I'm sitting here thinking, he talked the other day about doing this for 40 years. Here's Angie for 20, you're almost 20. The stability of having a team who knows what they're doing. No wonder you're confident in being able to get the work done.
Well, and I will tell you, one of the biggest compliments Gary's ever given me is he just handed something to me and said, you know what to do, just take care of this. And that tells me that he feels like he's taught me enough to know what to do in most circumstances.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Dustin, so good to have you on here.
Thank you, Keith.
Dustin Williams, stay with us. We're going to come back and close out the program with the Gary C. Johnson right here on Simply the Law.
The other day, one of my friends called me and said, Gary, I was in a bad wreck and you didn't call me. And I had to explain, no lawyer, even me, can call a person that's been in a wreck and ask them for their case. It is illegal. I want to represent you, but I'm not the one that can make that first call. It must be you. It's easy, call pound hurt. I'm here, I want to represent you.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. Back with us, Gary C. Johnson. Now, you were off camera, but I think you got to hear the interviews with Angie and with Dustin. You've got to be really proud to have a team that,
No.
that is with you and has been with you that long.
Absolutely, it's fantastic. Well, what I need to say, they said it all. They are awesome and make me look good. Back behind me, you will see a thing called judo law. And we put the emblem up there, but we didn't bother to tell you folks what it means. Years ago, when I first started practicing, I knew that I had to do something different than what other lawyers did. So I developed my own system of how you do cases. And over the years, I realized it was so much like using judo, if you're going to be in a judo fight, that I decided to call it judo law. And I sent the information in on what judo law was to the government and actually trademarked judo law as a system that we use when we're preparing our cases. And that's why you see that emblem. I'd say, well, maybe I ought to tell the public what I've done over the years.
And Gary, if there's anyone that's saying, well, wait a minute, what is the art of judo? That is where you take someone's strength and you turn it into their weakness, or you take the weakness and you turn it into a strength.
Right. That's exactly what it is. I learned that your greatest thing you have going for you in any lawsuit is the power and the strength of the large insurance companies, large corporations, large trucking companies, whatever it may be, because they love to use it. So what we do, we judo it. And we expose them for what they're doing. And we expose them for what's happening. So therefore, judo law, and that's why it's behind me. I knew some of you are like, what in the world is that? What's that doing back there? Well, that's what it is.
Well, and this has been very effective for you in the courtroom, but I have now realized you use this method in your daily life, attitude, and everything.
It will give you a calming effect to understand that the sun's going to come up tomorrow, no matter what. It is. No matter what we do or don't do. 5 years from now, things will be out there, life will be going on. And all the major things that's thrown at us, some of you, in fact, honestly, sometimes I know I've got to talk about something even though I don't have time to do it. I want to talk about this because every instinct I've got tells me that one of you right now is thinking that it is absolutely so bad that you can't go on because of all the devastating something or other that may have happened to you. It's okay. You will get through it. And you may learn from it. You may very well grow from it. You can't see it now, but it is amazing what time will do for you. Give it some time. Hang in there. The main thing is hang in there. It'll be okay, I promise you. In time. What's my favorite saying? To change is to grow. To have changed often is to have grown much. And joy and sorrow, they're just like this. And if you're grieving because of a great loss, remember that grief is directly in proportion to the joy that you lost. So as that guy that wrote that said, rejoice in your grief. And the greater your grief, understand the greater the joy was that you lost. And appreciate it for what it is. You would never have had the grief had you not had the joy. Whatever's been thrown at you, because I know there's not a doubt in my mind that one of you needs me to say what I'm saying, right? Because over the years, I believe that. It'll be okay. The main thing is don't let depression and despair get you down. Hang with it. Hang in there and let time heal and move on with your life, because we are alive. We have the gift of God, the gift of life. Make the most of it. Squeeze that dash we talk about so much on the program, and squeeze it for everything it is, because it's all we got.
Yeah.
There's no do-overs in this life.
You know, my friend, when you first told me these things, I thought, where did Gary learn this from? I now know. You picked all this up from your clients. You learned all the things that you just talked about from individuals who walked into your office with a reason to complain, but didn't complain.
When you watch 40 years of my practicing law, of people coming in my office, devastated because of someone else is breaking safety rules, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a doctor, whoever, just break safety rules and destroy someone's life, just destroy it, their life will never be the same again. Life as they knew it before that instant that happened, it's gone. And watch them, how they adapt and how they struggle, and the little things that they take great pleasure in. I had one client that was a paraplegic. That's being paralyzed from the neck down. And to watch him smile and how wonderful it was for one day he was able to move his finger. That little pleasure that he had, he did it and he did it and he did it and he did it, and he got that finger to move. And he took such wonderful pleasure in that. So folks, you got to find it where it's at, and you got to deal with it, okay? Hang in there.
Wow. Thank you, my friend. Good heavens. What a lesson. That makes us all bow our head a little bit. Thanks so much to Angie Owens being with us today, and Dustin Williams. And special thanks to the WYMT production crew for this beautiful set and the production they did today. On behalf of my dear friend Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. We look forward to seeing you again next week on Simply the Raw, right here, same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.